This summer, footballers and fans will flock to Europe for the greatest soccer event on the planet. Their destination, Germany. The World Cup 2006 promises to be the biggest and best soccer showcase ever. Millions will flock to the state-of-the-art stadiums, billions will watch on TV. The planet will stop as the world's footballing elite go head-to-head for the most prestigious prize in the game. And it will all kick off on the 9th of June in Munich and will end on the 9th of July, when the eyes of the world will focus on Berlin's historic Olympic Stadium for the biggest single event in the sporting calendar. In between, there'll be a month of explosive action played against the backdrop of some of Germany's most exciting cities. Later on in this programme, we'll be looking at Group B. But first, let's look at Group A, which kicks off in Munich on June the 9th. 3 times winners and tournament host Germany are the favourites in this group. Automatic qualification has ensured that the Germans have been starved of competitive matches, so come June they'll be itching to impress in front of an eager home crowd. Faced with the daunting task of trying to stop them are Poland, a robust squad who narrowly lost out to England in qualification. Despite that, they proved they're a force to be reckoned with as they booked a place in their second successive finals. Also in the group are Central American qualifiers Costa Rica. With 2 previous visits to World Cup finals, they'll be looking to improve on their previous best, a last 16 finish at Italia 90. And completed the group are Ecuador, who make it to their second successive World Cup finals, having made their way through the highly competitive South American group. Germany narrowly saw off strong competition from South Africa to hold the 2006 World Cup finals in their country. The hosts already have a hat-trick of World Cup wins under their belts, the most recent being in Italia 90. The Germans, however, have the dubious accolade of losing in the most World Cup finals. Since their most recent defeat in 2002, the painful memories have been swept away by a wave of World Cup fever.
I think that since the Confederations Cup, or even before, the euphoria has been obvious in the country. Everyone's looking forward to it. Every fan, every player, every journalist, every trainer is pleased. Everyone's pleased that the World Cup's taking place in our country. And it's also going to be good for the economy.
With the exception of the Confederations Cup last summer, the German national side has been without any competitive matches since 2004. To make up for this, coach Jürgen Klinsmann has chosen to prepare his side for the tournament with an intensive programme of friendly matches.
Of course, it's not easy just playing friendly games, and as a team, not to play qualifying games. But in Germany, it's quite hard to get a place in the World Cup squad. And therefore, you have to fight hard and prove even in friendly games that you want to be at the World Cup.
With World Cup places up for grabs, the Germans have played some great football and recorded some impressive results. This 3-0 demolition of Cameroon typically demonstrates that Germany are hungry for success and have assembled a well-balanced squad. The current generation is a real mix of seasoned professionals, young talent and genuine world-class pedigree. Under the tutorage of Klinsmann, himself a former World Cup winner, the side is being groomed to be the best in the world. Both managers were on the edge of their seats for this heated encounter with Argentina. Frings came close. Then Schneider was denied by this great save. But when the Germans were awarded a penalty, Frings made up for his earlier miss with this measured finish. In response, the Argentines piled forward. Sorin was upended and, much to the disgust of Klinsmann, a penalty was once again awarded. Hernan Crespo was the man who levelled the score. Germany set about reclaiming the lead, and 5 minutes later Curiani coolly slotted past the helpless Abondanzieri. Curiani's form has been erratic for the national side, but when he's playing well, the Brazilian-born Schalke striker poses a real threat in front of goal. The German defence stood resolute, and it appeared that they would hold on for a morale-boosting victory. However, Crespo's world-class finish in the 81st minute ensured that honours finished even. At the final whistle, Klinsmann could console himself with the fact that his team was nearly at the standard required to seriously compete in the World Cup.
Of course, I think it's an advantage for us that the World Cup's in our country. In particular, you could see in the Confederations Cup in the summer that with the help of our fans, we have a chance to stand up against big teams and big nations.
The Confederations Cup was largely used by Klinsmann to select a squad for the World Cup. This friendly against Russia was the final preparation match for the Confederations tournament, and it allowed the Germans to test themselves further and see how they would fare against the more physical European sides. Bastian Schweinsteiger is proving himself at the highest level, and his performance in this game almost single-handedly guaranteed his place at the World Cup finals. And when against the run of play the Russians plundered an early goal, Schweinsteiger led the comeback when he slipped away from his marker to apply this clinical finish. The 21-year-old, not content with drawing his side level, now undertook the task of firing them to victory. However, a late goal and Ballack's misfortune ensured that once again the Germans had to settle for a draw.
Altogether, we have a great team, I think. That's what Germany wanted, a compact team where everyone has their role. And this is what it's going to be like for the World Cup.
These games not only gave coach Klinsmann the confidence to book hotel rooms for the final, but also to demonstrate to the German public and the world that he has assembled a strong team. A lot will depend upon their most influential players. Ballack will be attending his last World Cup, whilst Kuriani will be hoping to link up with Polish-born strike partner Klose and score the goals that are essential for any World Cup campaign. Ever present for Germany is Oliver Kahn, who can still lay claim to being one of the best goalkeepers going to the finals. These players also have the advantage of having faced tournament favourites Brazil twice in the last 18 months. If they have any chance of winning the World Cup in 2006, they'll have to learn to deal with the likes of Ronaldinho and Ronaldo.
Brazil, of course, are the favourites. Like always, they have the best team. They have 50 players that are great, many that play in Europe. And they'll put together their best team for the World Cup.
But with a fairly easy first round group to begin with, Germany will be hoping that once again they can compete with the Brazilians.
Firstly, Germany hasn't always had great draws. In the last European Cup, we drew both Holland and the Czech Republic. Now we have a better draw. There are certainly harder groups, and everyone expects us to move on easily. But we have to play with concentration, and every player knows that. But we do have a good chance of moving on.
Playing in front of an expectant home crowd, the Germans are sure to receive a real boost from their followers. But will that be enough to see them through to Berlin in the final on the 9th of July?
It's of course going to be hard, but with the help of fans like ours, I think we have a great chance.
Munich is the capital of the Bavaria region. 1.5 million people live here and is one of the wealthiest German cities. Aside from being a home to high-tech industry, Munich is a very popular tourist destination and will be particularly busy in the World Cup months of June and July. The city boasts a collection of world-class museums, theatres and parks. It was also home to many famous artists, such as Kandinsky, Strauss and Ibsen. Munich's lavish Maximilianstrasse is the place to see and be seen. Its countless designer boutiques and expensive restaurants are exclusively frequented by an ever-growing contingent of Germany's rich and famous who choose to call Munich home. Munich is a very traditional city, and this is reflected wherever you go. The Hofbrauhaus is the most popular of Munich's many beer halls. Staff still wear traditional costumes and serve traditional Bavarian beers. Completed in late 2005, the futuristic Allianz Arena has replaced the old Olympic Stadium. The 66,000-seater stadium will host 6 World Cup games in total. It will also be witness to the opening ceremony on the 9th of June as Germany take on Costa Rica. Dortmund is a city made famous by its coal, steel and beer. More recently, the city has been undergoing a transformation, and as the heavy industry pulls out, a steady flow of media and communication companies have moved in. With the influx of these media, communication and high-tech companies, Dortmund's old buildings now share the skyline with sleek modern office blocks. Much of the old city remains unchanged, however. Dortmund has seen a massive development at its heart, which includes an extensive shopping precinct. Train connections from Dortmund will carry you quickly around the country, with Cologne and Gelsenkirchen both within 20 minutes. Whilst the coal and steel industries no longer feature in the city, the breweries are alive and well. 1,500 outlets now sell the locally produced Dortmunder beer. The place to consume your Dortmunder beer is at the Sky Beach, a tropical beach bar recreated on the top of a 7-storey car park in the middle of town. Dortmund is home to Borussia Dortmund's Westfalenstadion, which was built next to the old stadium in 1974. The people of Dortmund are mad about their football, with more than 38,000 inhabitants actively playing for a football club. The 60,000-seat stadium will host one of the World Cup's prestigious semi-finals on the 4th of July, and will also see games featuring Germany, Switzerland and favourites Brazil. Having already made 2 appearances at the World Cup finals, Costa Rica are no strangers to high-level, high-adrenaline football. But they'll need to draw on all their talent and experience to better their best ever result when they finish in the top 16 in Italia 90. No team has fought harder than the Ticos for their place in this summer's tournament. A dismal start to their qualification campaign saw them make very hard work of getting through the preliminary phase. Their first game of the second qualifying stage was at home to Mexico, the group favourites. Things started very badly for Costa Rica, and they were 2-0 down within 10 minutes. It was a good day for Mexico striker Jaime Lozano, who gave his team the lead in the 8th minute. And doubled his tally just a couple of minutes later. Costa Rica mounted something of a comeback and pulled a goal back towards the end of the first half through their all-time leading scorer, Paulo Wanchope. But that was the sum total of their resistance, and a home defeat was the worst possible start. Things improved a little in their second match, another home game, this time to Panama. The visitors proved to be uncooperative opposition, and Costa Rica had to wait until the 40th minute to take the lead, thanks to Wayne Wilson's penalty kick. Early in the second half, Panama equalised the game from the penalty spot thanks to Roberto Brown. It was looking bleak for Costa Rica as the game neared the final whistle, but in the last minute, Ron Meyer stepped up to score the winner and secure 3 precious points and take a step closer to Germany. But it was to be only a brief return to form, as they could only manage a 0-0 draw away to Trinidad and Tobago before making the arduous trip to Salt Lake City to take on Team USA. It proved to be a disaster as the vastly superior home team thumped 3 past Costa Rica. The match against the States had been Alexandre Guimaraes' first game in charge since returning as national team boss in place of Jorge Pinto. Despite his early setback, the coach who had taken the Ticos to the 2002 World Cup oversaw a change in fortunes, and wins against Guatemala, Panama and Trinidad and Tobago were followed by the return clash against the USA, a game Costa Rica had to win to stand any chance of going forward to Germany. This time the home team were equal to the challenge. First, Paulo Wanchope scored after half an hour to calm nerves. And in the second half, Carlos Hernandez scored not one, but 2 goals, which secured victory and ultimately gave them 3rd place in the group and last automatic qualifying berth for this summer's finals. A tough qualification they may have had, but Costa Rica are still a force to be reckoned with. With a proven track record under Guimaraes, there's enough experience in the team to make their opponents sit up and take notice. Costa Rica's qualifying campaign saw Carlos Hernandez establish his place in the side. After impressing in the 2004 Olympics, the midfielder went on to become a national hero when he smashed 2 fantastic strikes past the USA. While their undoubted star, Paulo Wanchope, well known to fans in England after stints at Derby, West Ham and Manchester City, will be on a mission to add to his record number of goals. The veteran striker is retiring from international football at the end of the campaign, and he's certain to want to go out with a bang. It promises to be a thrilling summer for Costa Rica. They've the unenviable fate of being drawn against the host nation, or be favourites to go through, but will fancy their chances to get results against Poland and Ecuador. Their first match, however, will be the biggest they've ever played, taking on host Germany in the opening game of the tournament in the Munich World Cup Stadium on June the 9th. And who knows, they might just pull off the first big upset of the summer. The cosmopolitan city of Hamburg is the most northerly of all the World Cup 2006 venues. Nestled on Germany's North Sea coast, this historical city has grown up around its busy international harbour. The harbour has been welcoming traders from all over the world since the early part of the 10th century. However, come June the 10th, it will be fans from Argentina and the Ivory Coast who will be flocking to this vibrant city. Like so many German cities, Hamburg underwent major reconstruction in the middle of the 20th century, and visitors will be treated to a marriage of new and old architecture. Hamburg is also a great place to relax and boasts a lavish selection of couture boutiques, restaurants and high street shops. For those who prefer to leave the shopping to others, then a walk around the Old Town will reveal an insight into the city's colourful history and allow you to see some wonderful sculptures and statues. At night you can be sure that those celebrating victory will be heading to the Reeperbahn. This is where the Beatles came to hone their talents before taking the world by storm, and it's still the place where all the locals go for a good night out. HSV Hamburg play at the AOL Arena, and as one of the largest stadiums in Germany, it will be a fantastic venue for the 5 World Cup games that will be played here. Although the pitch is undergoing a bit of a tanning session, it's sure to be in great shape when the tournament kicks off in June. Before World Cup 2002 in Japan and South Korea, Ecuador had never made it to a World Cup finals. What's more, they'd never even played a competitive match outside of South America. Sadly for them, they failed to find their form in Japan and were on their way home after the group stages. This time around though, the men from Quito will be aiming to put that disappointment behind them when they travel to Germany for the 2006 finals.
The people are very happy that we qualified for the World Cup 2 times. In our first World Cup in Japan, it was all about learning and not competing.
De La Cruz represents one of the small band of national team players who play their club football outside of South America.
The South American teams all play with possession of the ball. They play differently in Europe, with long passes and lots of attacking play. But Ecuador has many good players who all work well in a team situation.
Ecuador face strong opposition for their place in the 2006 finals, with competition always fierce in the unpredictable South American qualifying group. Despite wins against Argentina, Brazil and Paraguay, Ecuador's toughest test came when they travelled to La Paz. Bolivia are notoriously hard to beat at home. The extreme altitude is a massive advantage for the home side, and until this point in the preliminaries, they'd only lost 2 games.
The most important was the one that we played against Bolivia. We needed to win, and thanks to God we won and got the 3 points. The qualifications went quite well for Ecuador. Not just this game, but all the games we played, away and at home. Each game for us was like a final. We played well in this game, we played well in many home and away games, and that was important to our qualification.
Agustin Delgado has scored more international goals than any other player in Ecuador's history. The rangy striker led from the front in this tight game and eventually broke the deadlock on 8 minutes when his powerful shot was only partially blocked. The Bolivians sought to draw the game level, and in the 41st minute, Vaca restored parity. The Bolivians were now looking for a winner, but it was Ecuador and Delgado in particular who looked the more likely to add to the score. Ecuador's second eventually came when Delgado rose to dispatch this clinical header past the stranded Arias. With only seconds remaining and Ecuador on the verge of claiming a vital away win, Delgado broke clear of the Bolivian defence and was unlucky not to complete his hat-trick. As the Ecuadorians celebrated this win, they knew that qualification was virtually assured. A single point against Uruguay was enough to secure Ecuador's passage to Germany. They eventually finished third behind soccer giants Brazil and Argentina. The team owed a great debt of gratitude to their prolific striker Delgado, but he's not the only player who'll be hoping to make waves at the World Cup.
Antonio Valencia. He's a good, strong, quick and attacking player. He's a real prospect for the World Cup. We also have 2 or 3 new boys who are playing in America, and this year in the America's Cup was a big showcase for them. We are coming to the World Cup to compete, and we hope, like everyone else, to have a good chance in Germany.
I think we have concerns about playing against the big teams, but it's not fear. I think that it's anxiety about playing big teams, but we played like normal with Germany. That's the objective, not only with them, but with everyone in the group.
Ecuador's first game will be against Poland on the 9th of June. To improve upon their points tally from 2002, they'll have to look to their second match against Costa Rica as a great opportunity and hope for an upset against Germany in the final game of the group.
In Japan, we are 1 point away from the second round. Now Ecuador will not simply compete, but we will progress to the second round and get further.
De La Cruz will have an important role to play for Ecuador, and his performance will be crucial if he's decided to progress to the knockout stages. He's one of the most experienced players in Suarez's side, and he'll be aiming to supply accurate crosses for his strikers.
Ecuador doesn't just want to go to the World Cup, but also to compete and have a good campaign. Going to Japan was a long way away, but now that it's in Germany, it's much closer. It's going to be a World Cup that will be easier for us. Everyone will be more enthusiastic, and we hope that the group will let us get through to the next stage. The selection for Ecuador, the team, the players have all motivated the entire country. It's a small country with many problems, but football has given equilibrium, motivation and balance.
Ecuador wants to do big things this summer. Every morning, the first thing we think about is what it's like to be at the World Cup. Ecuador's a strong side that wants to do great things at this World Cup.
The team are largely unchanged from the 2002 side, although they now have a new coach. After securing qualification, Suarez sought to prepare his team for the final tournament with matches against more unfamiliar European opponents. Played in less than ideal conditions, this friendly clash with Poland was a learning experience for his side. Ecuador looked to be off the pace from the opening minute and never really posed a threat in front of goal. Ecuador struggled to make chances and was soon behind. As Suarez's attack faltered, Poland added another through Smolarek. As the game progressed, tempers became frayed and the frustration was evident. Even the talismanic Delgado failed to find the mark. Despite glimpses of quality, the South Americans were finding it hard to adjust to the conditions and the physical Polish side. Sebastian Miller added a third in the closing stages, and if it were not for a missed penalty, it would have been 4. The team will have to improve dramatically if they're to avoid the same treatment in Germany. The small town of Gelsenkirchen lies in the Ruhr region of southwest Germany, nestled between Dortmund and Cologne. Gelsenkirchen dates back to the 12th century and rapidly industrialised in the 19th century with the discovery of large coal deposits. The discovery heralded an era of mass iron and steel production, which shaped this city into a thriving industrial heartland. Unfortunately, the last mine was closed in the late 90s, and Gelsenkirchen's small population now experiences one of the highest unemployment rates in Germany. However, as the heavy industry moved out of Gelsenkirchen, FC Schalke moved in. The impressive Veltins Arena was built in 2001 and represents a new generation of modern football theatres. The centrepiece is undoubtedly this remarkable retractable pitch. The playing surface spends most of its time outside the stadium to benefit from a shadow-free growing environment and is then moved back inside for match days. This massive 44,000-seat stadium is breathing new life into Gelsenkirchen, which will be sure to benefit from the 5 World Cup matches that are to be played here. The first of which will be on the opening day of the tournament, when Poland will take on Ecuador. Since reunification, Berlin has been rejuvenated by an injection of modern-day development and investment. The impressive Potsdamer Platz now stands on what used to be a derelict site next to the old East-West divide. This impressive development is typical of a wave of foreign investment that flocked to the Old East following the fall of the Berlin Wall. However, the western part of the city remains largely unchanged, with many poignant reminders of Berlin's recent history. Checkpoint Charlie still endures, although the soldiers manning it have long gone and only their images remain. Berlin is a modern, vibrant metropolis, but the newly found optimism of the city has by no means led to the denial of its traumatic past. The Berlin Wall was dramatically destroyed in 1989, and a brass seal now runs the length of the old divide. However, in the middle of Potsdamer Platz, you can see one of the last remaining pieces of the wall itself. The famous Reichstag reflects the marriage of old and new, which typifies Berlin today, and it's undoubtedly a fitting venue for the final of the World Cup 2006. The final, along with 4 group matches and a quarter-final, will be held here at the Olympic Stadium. A crowd of 75,000 people will be on hand to try and cheer their teams to victory. Over the course of the tournament, 450,000 fans will visit the ground. On the 9th of July, all eyes will be on Berlin, as 2 teams will vie for the most coveted football trophy on earth. Whatever happens with the Olympic Stadium already sold out, it's sure to be a fantastic spectacle. Poland have declared they want to travel to Germany to make history for their national team. A bold statement, as they already have a distinguished World Cup record. This is the 7th time they've qualified for the finals, their high point coming in Germany in 1974 when they beat Brazil to claim 3rd place overall. To prove they were no one-hit wonders, they came 3rd again in Spain in 1982. So bettering that record might be a bit of a tall order for the Eastern European side, especially considering their recent international record. Poland made an appearance at the World Cup in Mexico way back in 1986, but that was followed by a 15-year drought that didn't see the Poles reappear until Japan-South Korea 2002. Their comeback campaign in Asia didn't give them much to write home about either. Early in the group stages it was clear the Poles were struggling. They went on to be one of the first teams to crash out, finishing bottom of their group. To add insult to injury, they even failed to get to Euro 2004. So the prospect of gaining a place in this summer's World Cup must have seemed pretty daunting way back in September 2004, when the team kicked off their qualifying campaign against Northern Ireland in Belfast. But a comprehensive 3-0 triumph over the home team was the shot in the arm that Poland desperately needed.
The first match was very important. It obviously helped us believe in ourselves. That first away game to Northern Ireland helped us a lot. We started believing in ourselves more, and we worked hard to get more points in the World Cup qualification.
A promising start may be, but it looked like Poland had embarked on a roller coaster ride when this was followed by a home defeat to England and then an away win in Austria. The Poles needed to start to put together a string of point-scoring results, and their next opponents were Wales.
I think those matches were very hard. Wales have some great players. Giggs, Hartson, everybody knows them.
This was to be the last match in charge for Wales manager Mark Hughes, so his team were geared up to give him a good send-off. And it looked like they were on track to do just that when Robbie Savage's free kick set up Robbie Earnshaw for this strike, which put Wales in the driving seat. But substitute Thomas Frankowski levelled the score in the 71st minute with this lightning strike. Maciej Żurawski was the next to draw blood, firing past Wales goalkeeper Paul Jones less than 10 minutes later. It was a textbook demonstration of the strength of the Polish strike force. And just to finish with a flourish, Jacek Krzyżanowicz put away a third. Thanks to John Hartson, Wales did score a consolation goal in injury time, but it came much too late to affect the outcome.
Both matches were fantastic. After we won 3-2, we had very good games in qualifying.
Poland had indeed turned a corner. What followed was a string of triumphs which saw them put 12 goals past Azerbaijan and claim second victories over Northern Ireland, Austria and Wales. This amazing run was enough to secure a berth in Germany, but the question was, would they go through top of the table? That would be decided by a head-to-head confrontation with the only team Poland had lost to, England. Both teams knew they were already through. There was the prestige of finishing top of the group at stake. Perhaps feeling more comfortable in front of their home crowd, England settled down first. Michael Owen getting on the end of Joe Cole's shot to put his team ahead. But it was that man Frankowski who came up with the goods for Poland again. This great volley making it 1-1. Poland keeper Artur Boruc was called upon to keep out Michael Owen. But England were on a mission, and it was Owen again who set up Frank Lampard to secure victory for the home side. Although that defeat meant Poland finished second in their group, their storming qualification campaign did earn them an automatic place in the finals as the best runners-up in Europe. Poland had booked their tickets to Germany with a classy display that showed them back on top of their game.
I believe everyone was happy with our qualifying campaign, and how many goals we scored, and how good the goals were. I believe that all the fans are very happy with the Polish team.
In their qualifiers, they scored 27 goals in 10 games. Many of those coming off the boot of star striker Thomas Frankowski. Frankowski was a late starter at international football, but has now become his team's main source of goals. After spells in France and Japan and a hugely successful 5 seasons with Wisla Krakow in Poland, Frankowski now plays in Spain. Partnering Frankowski is the equally prolific Żurawski. Technically gifted with a fearsome shot, he's explosive, instinctive and often finds the back of the net. There'll be a lot of pressure on these strikers this summer. Not only do Poland want to make up for the debacle of their 2002 campaign, they have a few scores to settle with some old rivals. Most teams would find the prospect of coming face-to-face with Germany on their home turf pretty terrifying, but Poland and Germany are neighbours, and there's sure to be thousands of fans making the short trip to Dortmund to see the confrontation on June the 14th. It promises to be one of the most exciting matches of the first round. Hannover is one of Germany's 10 largest cities. It's a busy international trade centre, which is also famed for its tranquil surroundings, baroque gardens, modern art, museums and fine entertainment. Like much of Germany, the streets of Hanover are peppered with cafes and bars. They're sure to be packed to the rafters when fans from all over the world will descend on Hanover for the matches that are to be played here. The Niedersachsen Stadium was completed in 1954, is home to Hannover 96 at the Bundesliga and was used during the 1974 World Cup. €64 million has been invested in modernising and refurbishing the stadium in preparation for the finals in 2006. It now boasts an all-seater 40,000 capacity. It's a very compact stadium which promises a great atmosphere for the 5 matches that will be played here. Games featuring Italy, Mexico, Croatia and South Korea will all feature, as well as one of the quarter-finals. There promises to be a lot of drama generated in Group B this summer. 2 European giants meet a passionate South American side and a team of World Cup novices from the Caribbean. Seeded in the group are England. The nation that invented the game only has 1 World Cup victory to their credit. Back then, Bobby Moore and co lifted the Jules Rimet trophy on home soil in Wembley. With a strong squad pitching up in Germany, they're fancied to repeat that feat this year. First they'll meet Paraguay, who are making their 3rd consecutive visit to the World Cup finals. The South Americans have a heady mix of experience, youth and a formidable strike force. They also have a habit of getting through to the second round. This is the first World Cup outing for Trinidad and Tobago. The tiny Caribbean nation will arrive in Germany after a miraculous and dramatic qualifying campaign. And although they're an unknown quantity in big tournaments, they have enough class to pull off 1 or 2 upsets. And rounding off this difficult group are Sweden, traditionally Scandinavia's strongest team. Sweden have a proud record in the World Cup, having finished in the top 4 on no less than 4 occasions and were runners-up in 1958. The Group B campaign will kick off in Frankfurt on June the 10th when Paraguay meet England. The spiritual home of football, it was from the British Isles that the beautiful game was exported around the world. Their footballing history may be long, but for a nation that's so passionate about the game, top international honours are thin on the ground. The last time England won the World Cup was on home soil back in 1966. 40 years later, they'll arrive in Germany ranked number 9 in the world, but with a team packed to the rafters with exceptionally talented players. Many experts, including Pelé, see England as very real contenders for the World Cup. Despite the high expectations, England's qualifying campaign wasn't without its hitches. Opening with a draw against Austria, coach Sven-Göran Eriksson's men consolidated to produce an impressive 6 consecutive victories. Then came the major embarrassment of defeat to Northern Ireland. It left England fighting for top spot in the group with East European rivals Poland.
The game in Poland was very important that we won that early on in the qualification. I think obviously all games are very important, but I think one of the crucial games at home was obviously Poland as well. I think those were the 2 key games. Poland turned out to be a very strong team as well, and I think it was very important to defeat them both times.
Proving England were firmly back on track, prolific striker Michael Owen was first to find the net. And then Chelsea midfielder Frank Lampard showed the class that earned him England's Player of the Year award in 2005. It spelled victory for his team and, more importantly, it ensured a safe passage to Germany 2006 with one of the best records in Europe. So this is how their campaign ended. 10 matches played and 8 victories and only 1 defeat was enough for England to pip Poland to top spot. Come the summer, England should pose a very real threat to the likes of Brazil, Germany and Argentina. That's because Eriksson has an embarrassment of top-class players in almost every position.
Everybody realises that this is a very good opportunity for us to be very successful, and I think that's the reason why expectations are obviously higher than they normally are.
We've got players now that, a lot of players that are world class, players that have developed so quickly over the last, few years. Got a great mixture between youth and experience, and even the lads that are sort of mid-20s, they've got so much experience of top flight football or Champions League football or World Cups.
I mean, the team is very similar to the past teams, but I think obviously more experience, and that the last World Cup we had a lot of injury problems, we were missing key players, and I think it's important come World Cup in the summer that we have all the key players fit, and that we have a very strong squad, and we can be very successful.
We've got the likes of Frank Lampard, Stevie Gerrard, that are top world-class midfielders. We've got countless centre-halves that you could fall back on, and I'd like to think me and Wayne up front would score the odd goal as well.
The Wayne Owen is talking about is Wayne Rooney, the player the whole world seems to be watching. Bursting onto the international scene in Portugal in the Euro 2004 Championships, Rooney is England's youngest ever cap and youngest ever scorer. Said to be the most exciting player to come out of the country since Paul Gascoigne in the early 90s, Rooney has the world at his feet. Still only 20 years old, Rooney is the finished article. Although he can be a little hot-headed at times, when he's on the ball he's the linchpin to the team.
Wayne Rooney obviously is a key player for us, and not just for us. I think he'll be one of the stars of the tournament, and he's got special ability going forward and creating goals and scoring goals for himself. And if he has a good tournament, I think we'll have a very good tournament as well.
I think me and Wayne are different, he doesn't like playing in the way I play, he doesn't like running in behind defenders as much as I do and sniffing around trying to find a great opportunity to score. He likes sort of roaming behind and quite a free role. He scores his goals, but he likes getting the ball turning, shooting from long range, taking people on, laying passes through. So I think in that way there's we're totally different, and his strengths are totally opposite to mine, so that's why we probably gel so well.
England will once again be relying on the goal-scoring exploits of Michael Owen when they begin their campaign in June. Owen burst onto the international scene as a teenager at the 1998 World Cup in France, when he scored a wonder goal against Argentina. Now 26, Owen will be hoping to close in on his country's all-time scoring record. Supplying Rooney and Owen is an outstanding midfield which boasts the dynamic duo of Frank Lampard and Liverpool's Steven Gerrard, and is spearheaded by the captain, David Beckham. As famous off the pitch as he is on it, Beckham's golden foot provides pinpoint crosses and killer free kicks. He's had an illustrious career at club level with Manchester United and Real Madrid, but seems to relish the world stage most of all. At the back there's a solid defence. Sol Campbell, Rio Ferdinand and John Terry providing a mouth-watering host of options for Ericsson. Between the sticks, the coach can rely on the safe hands of Paul Robinson, who has an ability to make some stunning saves. A strange twist of fate saw England coach Sven-Göran Eriksson pitched against his home nation Sweden for the second World Cup in a row. History suggests this might be the crunch match in England's group. The teams have met 20 times, with Sweden coming out on top. In fact, England haven't beaten the Scandinavians since 1968. However, if all the individual elements of England can gel in Germany, getting through the group stage should be a formality, although they would be wise not to take their eye off the ball.
World Cup, you tend to get, quite a soft passage to start with, and then it gets doubly hard against a lot of the top teams. So, I think regardless of who we got on the draw, it was, we would always be favourites to qualify, as we were one of the top seeds.
Every World Cup's going to be tough, but it could have been a lot worse, as I think a lot of people know. Got Sweden again, but haven't got a great record against Sweden, so we're going to have to sort that out.
I played against Paraguay in, I think it was 2002 down at Anfield, and we won 4-0, but I think they've strengthened the team and the squad a lot, so I think that game will be a little bit more difficult. Trinidad and Tobago, that'll be an exciting game because it'll be different. I know a lot about the Swedish team, so although it's not an easy draw, I'm confident we can win the 3 games and qualify.
I think it's a strong group. I think Sweden and Paraguay are very strong teams. They always qualify for the World Cup, and they always do very well. And so I think they all have good defence and good players going forward as well who can score goals. And I think obviously Trinidad and Tobago is the least favourite of all the teams.
I've heard whispers about who we can meet, but to be honest with you, I'm just completely focused on getting through the first group and then worry about who you can get, because you're not sure whether you're going to finish first or second in the group. So I think the first aim's to get qualified and then worry about who you're going to come up against then.
Just getting through the group isn't enough for Eriksson. He's determined to win it. That way he reckons he'll avoid a clash with arch rivals Germany in the next round. With the best team they've fielded for a long time, this is a golden opportunity for England to lift the World Cup again, a chance none of their stars want to squander.
Besides Brazil, I'd probably say we're as good as anyone, if not the best. I do believe that, and got great belief in some of the players that, we're in England squad at the moment. As I said, we keep the best players fit, got every chance.
Just as long as England are in the final, it'll be a dream. Obviously, it'll be very disappointing who gets the final and lose. So, a dream would be to win it. Whoever's the opponents that we beat in the final, it doesn't matter.
I know if I could score 5 or 6 in the tournament, and everyone else could chip in with 1 or 2, then surely we've scored enough goals there that if our defence play just as they normally do, then you'd like to think that we could go quite far in the tournament. So yeah, it would be nice to win the golden boot and things like that, but I prefer to win 1 World Cup than 10 golden boots.
The skyline of the modern high-tech city of Frankfurt is dominated by office blocks and skyscrapers. Frankfurt is the financial hub of Germany and is also home to the European Central Bank. In fact, 83,000 people in Frankfurt work in banking. The Main River, which is a tributary to the mighty Rhine, flows through the centre of Frankfurt. A tour boat is a great way to see this city, with many operating regularly in both directions. A large proportion of Frankfurt's population comes from outside Germany. This gives rise to a culturally diverse feel to the city, and there are many film theatres, exhibitions and fairs to reflect this. Most of the old town was destroyed by bombing in the Second World War. However, enough remains to give an impression of what Frankfurt was like before the skyscrapers went up. The new Waldstadion has been built specifically for the World Cup, with €126 million being lavished on this magnificent arena. This 44,000-seat stadium is home to Eintracht Frankfurt of the Bundesliga. In June, thousands of supporters will be descending upon Frankfurt for the 4 group games and quarter-final which will be played here. Although Paraguay have been overshadowed by South American neighbours Argentina and Brazil on the international football stage, they are perennial visitors to the World Cup, having made it through 6 times before. Qualifying from the notoriously tough South American group is a strong indication of how resilient this team really is.
In the last 10 years, we've qualified for 3 consecutive World Cups. Each time, our aspirations are much higher, and we hope to do great things.
Those last 3 showings have been pretty impressive for Paraguay. Getting through the first round hasn't been a problem, but meeting tough opposition in the knockout stages has prevented them making it any further. In 1998, it was eventual winners France who sent Paraguay home, while in 2002, it was runners-up Germany who got the better of them. Although Paraguay finished 4th in South American qualifying with some very disappointing losses, there were also some great results along the way. They beat the mighty Argentina 1-0 and held their other neighbours Brazil to a 0-0 draw. They may not have the flair that Brazil is famous for, but under coach Aníbal Ruiz, Paraguay do have impressive organisation and discipline.
We have also got much better at our on-field positioning. We're now characterised for having a very strong defence and for the ability to get out of attacks very quickly.
Paraguay's ascendancy is reflected by the number of their stars now plying their trade in Europe's top leagues.
The players who play in Europe are a fundamental part of the team.
Players to look out for are captain Carlos Gomara. This veteran centre-back has over 100 caps to his credit. Jose Cardoso is Paraguay's all-time top goal scorer and has been representing his national side for 15 years. The 2002 South American Footballer of the Year added to his silverware when he won an Olympic silver medal in 2004. Versatile Roque Santa Cruz is the pivotal player in the team. Strong in the air, good on the ground, happy to play as a midfielder or a striker, he gives the side a wealth of options. Meanwhile, in goal is one of the bright young hopes of Paraguayan football. Taking on the mantle of larger-than-life legend Jose Luis Chilavert is no easy ask, but Justo Villar is a formidable shot-stopper with lightning reflexes. Having secured a shock silver medal at the 2004 Olympics, confidence is high for Paraguay.
In the last Olympics, we won a medal that Paraguay has never won before, so the people are quite excited about this team.
Although they've tasted Olympic glory, World Cup success will be sweeter for Paraguay. However, it will prove hard for this particular South American side. Their group is tough and England and Sweden have to be favourites to progress to the second round. But the passion is certainly there and the players are determined to make this a campaign to remember.
I'd like to be able to play in the whole World Cup with the team. We'll see what position we finish in. I'd like us to pass the first hurdle and do something important for Paraguay.
After Munich, Nuremberg is the second largest city in Bavaria. Historically, Nuremberg was one of Europe's most important and culturally privileged cities. It was the unofficial capital of the Holy Roman Empire and residence to many German kings. Nuremberg was also home to the famous artist Albrecht Dürer, who was one of the founding fathers of the German Renaissance movement. The medieval Altstadt had to be almost completely restored following the Second World War. Now returned to its former glory, its many cafes, bars and restaurants are sure to be popular with visiting support. Home to FC Nuremberg of the Bundesliga, the Frankenstadion has been completely redeveloped for the 2006 World Cup. The total cost of the stadium's renovation is estimated at €56 million. The 44,000-seat stadium will host 5 games during the tournament and will stage its first match on the 11th of June when Mexico take on Iran. Trinidad and Tobago became one of the big stories of World Cup qualification as they secured their place amongst the planet's elite for the first time in their history. After finishing 4th in the Central American region, the team from the Caribbean had to come from behind in order to defeat Asian qualifiers Bahrain and secure their maiden World Cup spot. The Soca Warriors are among the most surprising qualifiers lining up in Germany this summer, and few of their players will be more surprised to be there than English-born Chris Birchall, who's the first white footballer to represent the islands for 60 years.
I always knew I was eligible because my grandparents were from England originally, and I think it's because of my grandfather's job moved to Trinidad, and that's when my mum was born. When she was 18 she came back for good to England where she met my dad. It was when we were playing Wrexham here. Big Dennis Lawrence, who plays for Trinidad at the back, came up to me on the pitch and said, "Have you got any Trinidad blood in you?" I said, "Yeah, my mum was born there," but complete shock. I didn't know how he knew or anything. And he said, "I need to speak to you after the game." Well, it was bizarre when I was first going over, because all the lads over here were just like the banter, taking the mick, saying, "I want to, can you play for Trinidad and Tobago?" Well, the fans have always been great with me, but obviously at the beginning I think it was a bit of a novelty because I was a white player playing in a black team. It wasn't so much of a surprise for them as it was for the people back home, knowing that a lad from Stoke-on-Trent could play for Trinidad, especially a white player anyway.
Birchall and his new team's qualification was far from convincing, and they only managed to pick up 3 points away from home. But decent home form left them going into the final group game, knowing that they needed to match Guatemala's result against Costa Rica to secure their playoff place. However, they found themselves with the ominous task of having to beat Mexico, a side ranked inside the world's top 10.
And when we played Mexico, the tickets went on sale I think 2 days before the game, and like there were massive queues everywhere, and the country was in pandemonium really, because like everyone was trying to get tickets.
The whole country was, tuning into that game, and we did win, so it was just overall celebrations all over though.
We needed to beat Mexico on the last day, and we just played out of our skin, and it was one of them days that Mexico didn't perform to the best, but we overachieved and we got the result and beat Mexico 2-1.
Mexico had the best of the opening exchanges, but they found Trinidad's goalkeeper Kelvin Jack in good form. Then against the run of play, the home side were awarded a penalty. With the expectation of the nation on his shoulders, Captain Dwight York saw his weak spot kick saved. And things went from bad to worse when Mexico's prolific midfielder Jaime Lozano put the Mexicans in front. However, it took only 5 minutes before Coventry City's Stern John netted a crucial equaliser. The second half saw the Soca Warriors launch attack after attack at the Mexicans, and they thought they'd gone in front, only to see John's strike ruled out for offside. Disappointment was short-lived as the country's record goal scorer fired in an outstanding strike and sent the Caribbean island wild. Holding a precious lead and with the clock running down, Trinidad and Tobago saw attack as the best form of defence, and John came close to claiming his hat-trick. Denzel Theobald hit the post before the full-time whistle was blown, but it didn't matter. Trinidad's place in the playoff was secured. And there's confirmation of the final standings in Central American qualifying. USA and Mexico were the runaway leaders, with Trinidad and Tobago claiming 4th place and a playoff spot at the expense of Guatemala. Finishing in 4th meant that the Soca Warriors had to go head-to-head with Bahrain from the Asian qualification region for a place in Germany. But things didn't go quite to plan in the first leg.
We were classed as favourites to win it, and it put a bit of pressure on us because we were expected to win and win heavily at home, which it didn't happen. We lost we drew 1-1 at home, but we conceded the away goal.
When we played them first at home, we didn't really play to the normal ability that we did because we were kind of waiting to see what the team had to offer more or less, and then when we did see what they have, I think we went over there to their country and did what we had to do.
Having failed to beat Bahrain in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago travelled to Manama, knowing that they had to score to stand any chance of qualification. And things didn't start well for the Soca Warriors when Chris Birchall had to be withdrawn through injury. But the Caribbean side refused to be disheartened and created a handful of decent openings. positive approach finally paid off in the second half when Wrexham's Dennis Lawrence headed in from a corner to cement his place in Trinidad and Tobago history. The goal was enough to send the Soca Warriors to Germany, but they had to survive a late scare when Bahrain had a goal controversially disallowed. The final whistle brought an end to a roller coaster qualifying campaign that had seen Trinidad and Tobago secure a shock place at the finals. But what's the secret to such a surprising success?
You've got a mixture of youth and the senior players. So, especially for me personally, playing in the middle of a Dwight, the experience he brings and the support he gives you. He's a sound guy off the pitch, and on the pitch he's constantly talking, telling you where he wants you.
York is a national hero in his homeland and will be captaining the Soca Warriors during their World Cup bow. After winning the European Cup with Manchester United in 1999, York claimed that this was the equivalent of winning the World Cup for him, as he never expected his country to qualify.
Dwight York and others, you know, they bring a sort of calmness or sort of reassurance to the team.
The only thing he hasn't done is got to the World Cup, so I think he'll bring his experience from all the things he's done and just calm the lads down. It'll be a massive boost for us having them kind of players in the squad for the World Cup.
I think they bring that older brother mentality to the team, you know, and it definitely helps us, those with the young players who are not coming up like myself, Burchill and all of that.
Another player to look out for this summer will be their all-time record goal scorer, Stern John. It was John's 12 goals in qualifying that fired his nation into the playoffs, and he'll never score a more important goal than his second against Mexico in Port of Spain. Whilst York and John will be looking to score goals at one end, Kelvin Jack will be hoping to keep them out at the other. As if their miraculous qualification wasn't enough, Trinidad and Tobago pulled a plum draw when they were paired with England in the group stages.
We were all thinking, yeah, we're going to get in England's group because most of us are playing out there anyhow, you know. And if we don't get England, we're going to get Brazil, and it so happened that we ended up in England's group though.
I've got nothing to lose really. I think all the pressure's on England and Sweden to get out of the group, so Trinidad are just going to go over and enjoy themselves.
I think that we're going to go there and in our group and look to win all the games, you know. Go there and try to do our best and to get as much points as possible, you know. It's not just to go there and just show up. We're going there to make it to at least the furthest stage we can.
If we can get off to a good start by either getting a point against Sweden, or if we play out of the skin and get a win, that'd be amazing. But I think everyone in the Trinidad camp is looking forward to the Paraguay game, because that's the last game, and I think we'll be going all out to win. And I think if we do play well, we've got a good chance in that one.
Cologne is Germany's oldest city and lies in the middle of the country, about 65 kilometres east of the Netherlands. Built on the banks of the Rhine, Cologne is regarded as the engine of the German economy. Large-scale industrial development is commonplace in this region. Cologne is well connected, and many other World Cup 2006 venues are within easy reach using the cheap rail service. The Romans founded Cologne in 50 BC, and although largely destroyed in the Second World War, many historical landmarks still remain. None are more impressive than the imposing Gothic cathedral. The cathedral dominates the skyline of Cologne and attracts thousands of visitors each year. The riverbank area of the city is packed with cafes and eateries, all of which will be bristling with supporters in June. The Rhine Energy Stadium will host 5 World Cup matches. Home to FC Cologne, this 40,000-seat stadium also hosted games during the 1988 European Championship. In anticipation of the 2006 World Cup, the stadium was redeveloped at a cost of €110 million. The first match to be played here will be Angola versus Portugal on Sunday the 11th of June. best of Scandinavia's soccer nations, Sweden has a World Cup history to be proud of. They've reached the finals 10 times in the past, having made the semis 4 times. And when they hosted it back in 1958, they made it all the way through to the final, only to be beaten to the game's greatest prize by Brazil. The strength of Sweden's game is clear from their recent history. Germany 2006 is their 4th consecutive trip to the tournament. In getting there, they once again demonstrated the gritty determination that has seen them become one of Europe's major footballing forces. Winning 8 out of a total of 10 matches, Sweden scored an impressive average of 3 goals a game. Thanks to a trio of world-class forwards. It would have been enough to top their group, but an outstanding Croatia beat Sweden both times they met, relegating the Scandinavians to 2nd spot.
At a quite early stage we lost at home to Croatia, so we knew we had to you don't have that many games and you need to win most of them, if not almost all of them, and we had some tough games against Bulgaria and Hungary, but we managed to play well in them and go through anyway.
Despite finishing 2nd in their group, Sweden avoided a playoff, earning an automatic place in Germany as one of 2 of Europe's best runners-up. Ranked 14th in the world, Sweden's qualifying campaign is enough to signal that they're a serious threat to any opposition this summer.
For quite some time now we have defended really well and played organised, and we're physically strong. So we've got a few star players up front in Freddie Ljungberg and Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Henrik Larsson, who can make a difference in a game. So we're getting more and more experience now of this championship, and I think that should mean we can hopefully raise the level a little bit and set our goals a little bit higher this time.
Larsson and co will have a lot of pressure on their shoulders in Germany, but they're seasoned performers who are no strangers to playing their club football at the very highest levels. 34-year-old Henrik Larsson is a veteran of the Sweden team. He burst onto the international scene in 1993, scoring a crucial goal on his debut, which put Sweden through to the World Cup finals 1994. Former holder of Europe's Golden Boot, he's recognised as one of the most dangerous strikers in the world. Midfielder Fredrik Ljungberg is the darling of Swedish football. Since arriving in the English Premier League in 1998, Ljungberg has established himself as one of Arsenal's top stars, and he successfully managed to transfer his club form onto the international scene. With more than 50 caps to his name, Ljungberg is also one of the national team's leading lights, and when playing alongside Larsson and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he gives Sweden an impressive attacking prowess. Of Bosnian extraction, 24-year-old Ibrahimovic could be the undoing of many nations' hopes in this summer's tournament. He already possesses a wealth of skill which helps him score great goals, and Swedish fans will be looking out for his quick turns of pace and explosive finishing. Despite his youth, he already has an impressive CV. His first big club was Ajax, and he now plays for the Italian giants Juventus. No one watches Sweden with a keener eye than England's Swedish coach, Sven-Göran Eriksson, who has said that if Ibrahimovic carries on this way, he'll be the best in the world. That will make him a real thorn in England's side when they clash in Cologne on the evening of the 20th of June. Both sides are aware that this match could make or break their World Cup hopes.
In England, they've got a really good chance this time, and I think for next summer they will have a really good squad. They've got some really good players now and key players in the biggest sides here in England. So we won the group in the last World Cup, where there was Argentina, England and Nigeria. So with the system we have played, we've been able to do well against all kinds of sides, European sides, South American sides, African sides. So you gotta adapt a little bit, but in the main we try to stick to our way of playing.
Now that they prove that their style of football works, they crushed Scotland in a confidence-boosting friendly. 2 goals from Allback. And 1 each from Elmander. And Fredrik Berglund easily saw off the opposition, and it bodes well for an exciting future for a team in great form and breaking records.
This is our 4th consecutive championship, and that hasn't happened many times before in Swedish history, and we have performed really well both in the championships and in the qualifying stages. So I think the expectations are high from ourselves and from the people as well.
Located in the Rhineland-Palatinate of southwest Germany, Kaiserslautern is one of the smallest cities to host matches for the 2006 World Cup finals. The population of 110,000 are likely to be overwhelmed by the visiting supporters, and the city has been racing to prepare facilities in anticipation of the fans from Australia, Italy, Spain and Paraguay. Kaiserslautern is a small, peaceful city with a provincial feel. Life here is slow, quiet and tranquil. The 11 Friends sculpture in the heart of the city is new for 2006 and is intended to illustrate the ethic by which all successful teams must abide. The Fritz-Walter Stadium is perched on the side of the valley in which Kaiserslautern lies. Amidst the trees, the 41,000-seat stadium is named after the legendary German World Cup winning captain of 1954. The stadium, which has recently undergone a €48 million extension, will host 5 World Cup matches, the first of which will be Australia's game against Japan on the 12th of June.